Or would you like to have cheaper money to do more real estate deals? Or even better, would you like to negotiate with sellers for long-term seller financing so that you don't have to go to a bank or an institution and fill out these loan applications to get...
Do you want to make more money? Sure, we all do. So call this free number.
Salespeople, or good salespeople, don't sell. They help people to buy. I don't like to start with techniques. I like to start with, I care about this seller, I want their story so that I can help them. If you understand seller finance and you have seller finance tools in your bag, you will provide more benefits to the sellers. There will be better deals for the sellers. There will also be better deals for you. I'm gonna give you guys an example. This is Mr. John Purdy.
I was not a good landlord. I'll tell you what, landlords should be able to get in there and tell them you're either on time or you're out of here. And I just never did that.
If it was a rental property for them and it's vacant, or if there's somebody in there right now, what income are you actually getting from this? What do you mean? The rent's $1,000. No. What are you actually getting? I'm gonna ask questions that lead up to that. So what's the rent on this place? $1,000 a month. Great. Do they pay on time? Are they good?
You know, I never did have that when they were living there.
So how much do you actually get from that? You need to get them in a place where they recognize, oh, I'm actually only getting this much, and you're getting all that much money, and you're dealing with it every month. And anybody that's been a landlord here knows you're dealing with it, right?
It was pretty well totaled. I just wanted to sell it as is, and I knew that was going to be a problem because as is was nowhere near perfect. It was a nightmare for me.
What are they going to do with the money?
It wasn't going to be enough money to go out and make a big investment and be able to live off of it or anything like that.
We all assume they all have a place for their money. They don't necessarily.
I really didn't have a plan.
And even if they do, how much do they need? If you're in rapport with them and they like you, they'll give you this information, right?
When I looked at having it done, he figured it out what it was going to cost me in taxes. And there was going to be off the top of the price of it, there was going to be $20,000 in taxes.
How can we not do that? And then I helped him. Well, what if we could find a way, because I don't really know, but if we could find a way to do that.
I thought I was really going to be in trouble because I had sold it during that year.
IRS Publication 537. Installment sale is a sale of a property where you receive at least one payment after the tax year of the sale. Would that have helped that guy to not receive his proceeds in the year that he just got dumped on a huge chunk of cash, right? Our non-tax paying friend on Social Security just sold a property for $100 grand. Yay! The cash got dumped out on the thing, and $16,650 in taxes just disappeared. So the $100 grand he just got was really only $83,350. If you understand that and you know their situation, can't you work something that's more advantageous for them and for you? You got to keep that money. Huge advantage for me, but when I clued him in on how it was an advantage for him, it made the deal a heck of a lot better, right?
We're down to where we're living on Social Security now, and that's a little tough to do when you get to be my age. $1,200 a month from the government, that's not a lot left over.
If he needs $500 a month to supplement his income, he's got $83 in the bank, gets a CD at 0.5%, he gets that much per year, and he takes $500 a month, so he's eating some of his principal. That'll last him 14 and a half years. Pretty good, right?
My tax man surprised me. I thought I was really going to be in trouble because I had sold it during that year.
If he does an installment sale, you can say, look, I can get you 4% or 4.5%. You guys are probably thinking like, I'd love to get 4% from the seller, right? 4.5%. You get to invest your $100 grand, you make that much per year, and you get $500 a month payments for 30 years, which means you're going to get an extra 187 payments for 15 and a half years. You're going to make an extra $93,500. How does that sound to you, being on Social Security, right? Which is better?
So I was tickled to get out of that business. Now I get a check every month, right on time or before. It's time, and that is a wonderful thing. I really am tickled to see that check arrive every month.
You see how this could be powerful to understand so that you can introduce that to a seller? So make sure you don't dump the cash on them and produce an unfavorable April 15th for them.
it keeps me down in a lower income to where I don't have to pay huge amounts of taxes. It just makes it to where we can live instead of survive. In hindsight, I would do just exactly what we did and more or less just depend on you to show us the way through this thing because we didn't know. To me, I thought you was fantastic because you had the answers for everything we needed. And we set it up and it's worked out wonderful.
Okay, so now I'm going to get a little bit more. Remember I said their property. What will the property support asterisks, right? So this property, hypothetical property we're talking about, is worth 100 grand. The guy wants 100 grand. We're giving him $450 a month. Remember this? What if you don't like his property? But you still wanted, what was your number one goal?
To borrow money.
Borrow his money for as long as possible, for as low as payment as possible, right? So do you have to keep it on his property?
No.
Not if you know this, the substitution of collateral, right? So here's the thing, when they have a gain coming, and if this guy's gonna pay $20,000 in taxes for getting this 100,000 cash, we don't wanna do that. But you don't like his property. A substitution of collateral means you can start, you can borrow these people's money without having it secured against something, but I would say you should have things secured against people, protect people, right? Give them because they're gonna ask you questions of how am I protected if you don't pay me, right? The property is the collateral, so security against stuff. But if you don't like their property, but you still wanna borrow their money long term, do you have another property that you'd like to refinance, essentially?
I have security not in that house, but in another home over in Roy that was worth every bit as much or more. Well, quite a bit more, actually. You know, if you ever didn't pay, I could come over and say, hey, I want my house. I'll tell you what, it's a good thing for both of us. That's something you don't generally end up with when you sell homes and stuff like that, is everybody happy. And I'll tell you what, I am. I feel like I was a winner.
Let me recap a little bit here with this guy. Was he happy?
Yes.
Did he get a good deal? You guys don't know the deal he got yet, but let me tell you a little bit about the deal, okay? He was stuck on his price. There's a bunch of people chasing this deal with their cash hammers, okay? They didn't take the time to listen like you guys are gonna do. The house was worth about $140,000, okay? 140, 150, and it needed some work. So everybody's chasing with a cash hammer because that's what they know how to do. He was stuck on his price. He's like, he knew he wanted $90,000 to $100,000 for this house. He wanted 100, right? So he was stuck on that price. He had a tax gain coming because I bothered to listen to him and ask him what that was going to be. How much was his tax gain? 20,000 bucks, right? He wanted steady income, not a chunk of money, right? So I introduced installment sale clauses, and he was a happier man. But let me tell you what I got from this, right? Because it was all about him, right? Everyone, I could leave it with that story. You guys would all be happy. Andy's a hero. Now, if I told the story another way, if I said, I bought a house that was worth 150 that needed some work for 90, and I didn't pay the guy 90, I borrowed the 90 and put it against another house that I had. I'll come back to that in a second. I paid him $450 a month for 330 months, less than 30 years, okay? $90,000, I'm paying him $450 a month for that. And I've got the first right of refusal. If he's ever gonna sell that note, I can buy it. He's okay with me moving that to some other properties, right? He's okay with that because he doesn't really want the money, he doesn't want the tax problem. So he's perfectly happy with me having the $90,000 or me writing a check for $450 a month to him, right? I basically refinanced my rental property with his money on an installment sale, and he's extremely happy about it, right? I actually made some money on the flip too. It wasn't much. If you've seen I Love Real Estate Stories, it's the North Ogden seller finance story. I think I made 10 grand on that flip house. But it wasn't a sad story. Like, oh, 10 grand on a flip, that's not great. But I didn't want the money from the flip. I wanted to borrow $90,000 for 30 years.
I mean, I forgot what it was like to be able to count on money to be here like that. So that really helps.
If you understand seller finance and you have seller finance tools in your bag, you will provide more benefits to the sellers. There will be better deals for the sellers. There will also be better deals for you. And I promise you, you will get more deals.